Well, heck, welcome back, everyone. To be honest, this was not a show I was expecting to do tonight with markets crashing, Bitcoin crashing, and everything else. I was going to get into the Bitcoin miners, Hot 8, Cipher, see what happened there on Friday with their updates. We're also going to take a look at some HPC plays like Microsoft Applied Digital, get into those a little bit more, as I've told you guys in the past week or so that I'm going to try to not diverge, but get into some other things as well, like HPC plays that I wanted to, I pulled in a bunch of data for that, so I thought we'd do that. But the market's crashing. We got to talk about that. What's going on there? Europe markets are crashing. Japan's markets are crashing. Oil's down. Bitcoin's down. We got to talk about that first, and then we'll get into everything else. Okay. So I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. Doesn't look like Monday's going to be a great one for us, at least to start out with right now where we are, but we'll see where it goes. Things are looking a little bit better. They're coming up off their lows right now from the futures. But we got lots to get through here. But one of the main things we got to always do is not financial advice, friend only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And let's take a look at here what we got on the charts. So on the charts, we can see here this is the S&P 500 futures here right now. It is, as you can see, it is bouncing off of the lows. The 4,832 was the low on it. We're at 4,969 right now. So we are kind of bouncing off of that. Maybe that's, I don't know, we'll see what tomorrow brings us, but right now we're still in the red a little bit, but not as much as we were. We were down like almost 5% on it. The NASDAQ futures also are kind of bouncing up a little bit here as well, right? The low was 16,460. We kind of bounced off of those. So maybe this was just, I don't know, trying to liquidate some longs, I have no idea what's happening here. But tomorrow will be interesting to see what happens there, right? Brent is down. Actually, Brent was down, but it's up a little bit today. And then that's oil. And boy, TradingView is definitely having a lot of traffic today, but it was down. It's kind of come back up to where it was starting out at. The volatility futures as well on the VIX is coming down a little bit. It got to 40 here. So that's kind of good there at least. Maybe the panic won't be as bad as we thought it was going to be, or at least I thought it was going to be tomorrow. People are talking about having a Black Monday event happening here. It still might happen. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but at least what I'm seeing here, at least on the futures right now, things are kind of cooling off a little bit, which is kind of good. How long that's going to last, we'll find out tomorrow morning when we wake up, unfortunately, and see where things take us at that point. But we do have some things to talk about here, obviously, on the markets, right? Dow Jones futures are now kind of back down a little bit, 2.36%. At least they came back up a little bit from where they were. They were down like 5% on it. S&P futures as well. NASDAQ futures are doing a little bit better here than they were. Oil is still down around $60 right now. The 10-year is down a little bit as well. And then you got the Asia markets here. You got the ASX being down 5%. The Nikkei is only down 6%. It was like 8% down at one point. And then I do have a bunch of tweets here from people as well. Right, this is from bar charts. Trading in Japan halted after Nikkei 225 plunges 6% on the open. So that happened, right? The little circuit breaker went off there. Germany stock market futures dropped 5%. This is from Wolf of Streets. Japan Financial Stock Index falls more than 12%. So it wasn't a great day for the Asian markets, at least to start out with. Australian stock market also was down 6.4% on open. So it's continuation of one thing after another. Japan's Topix Banking Index is down 14%. Then we got at least something maybe good here from Bach. Historically, the Fed has done emergency rate cuts when the 2-year yield were a 100 basis points or more below the FFR. A 2-year yield at 3.64, FFR is at 4.33. If this madness continues when we aren't far from the emergency cuts. So, and then he did another post below that. Two-year yields now at 3.48. Bond yields are melting down, closing in on 100 basis points gap. Maybe we will get an emergency Fed cut. I doubt it, but you can always hope. You can always wish. But I thought that was kind of interesting. That might be one silver lining there. And then also something that I just saw here recently within like the last 3 minutes. Bar chart says billionaire investor Bill Ackman. If you guys know who he is, definitely check him out. But he's a hedge fund. Says President Trump is losing the confidence of business leaders around the world. Right? Business leaders don't like uncertainty. It's one thing after another, and they don't like it. The other thing that I see problem possibly with the tariffs is these are executive orders, basically. So if we get another president and has different views on it, tariffs could come back off. I think the better approach would be to do something. Yeah, it's going to take a lot longer and everything else to get it ironed out, but it would have to be done through like Congress, Senate, and then having the president actually sign a bill into place. So that's the other part of it. That's also uncertainty for the companies. right, as CEOs, is how do you plan for that when one president gives you high tariffs on something and then another one comes back in and reduces it? I mean, you can't really plan for it for the long run. If you're going to be building out something that's going to be a building, a factory or something like that, that takes time. That takes years to do. And then it's like, all right, we get the high tariffs now, and in 4 years, the tariffs are gone. It's like, well, you spent all this money to do it when you could still be, having your stuff made in Mexico and Canada and China and Vietnam, wherever it might be. And that's why I think this is going to lead to eventually Trump and all the other countries that he's targeting for tariffs will come down to some sort of secessions and make deals going forward, because you can't do things like that. And I'm sure everybody that's whispering in Trump's ear is probably telling him, look, you got to get this done, right? It's going to be pain in the beginning of the market, or like we're experiencing right now. But eventually things, I think, will improve as we get more clarity on things going forward. We do have a trade deficit. We got to fix that, obviously. So I'm all for that. But just the approach that we have right now is very, very drastic. And that I don't like that. I'm sure businesses don't like that either. But that's just kind of my points on it right now. I think things will smooth out over time. I don't know if it's going to be this week, next week, the following week, whatever it might be, but it's going to smooth out. They got to get this worked out, because this is total lunacy, ludicrous, right? All right, a couple more things here on the circuit breakers here. So circuit breakers, as you know, if the markets open up tomorrow and they go down a certain amount, we get a circuit breaker, basically puts a pause into it. So there's a pretty much a some market circuit breakers are mechanisms designed to temporarily halt trading on an exchange to prevent excessive volatility, which we're kind of seeing right now, and panic selling, which we're kind of seeing here as well. In the United States, these rules are set by the Securities and Exchange Commission and applied to the major stock indices like the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones, I believe. Here's how they work as of April 6th, as of today, basically. Market-wide circuit breakers for the S&P at least. Level 1, if you have a 7% drop, trading halts for 15 minutes if the drop occurs before 3:25 p.m. Eastern Time, right before the closing of the bell. And then no halt if the drop happens after 3:25 p.m. Eastern Time, 35 minutes before the market closes at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's the first circuit breaker there. Level 2 is going to be a 13% drop. Trading halts for another 15 minutes regardless of when it occurs, unless it's after 3:25, in which case trading continues unless level 3 is hit. Level 3 is hit, a 20% drop. Trading is halted for the remainder of the trading day, no matter what the time. These halts apply market-wide, affecting all U.S. equities, New York Stock, NASDAQ, etc. The thresholds are recalculated daily based on the prior day's S&P closing value. All right, so we do have these things in place to kind of put a squash on too much fear, too much trading going on, people panicking and everything else, to kind of give them a little bit of a breather and reevaluate things. Because once you start seeing things selling off, and you're like, I got to sell as well. So people continue to add on to that fire there when it continues going forward. So, right now, let's see, where are we at? I mean, things are looking a little bit better here, at least on the Nikkei and the ASX. Pre-markets for the U.S. are also a little bit better. We're down to 2.64% on the S&P futures. Dow Jones is down 2.2. NASDAQ is down 3.46. So we're doing a little bit better. We kind of are bouncing off the bottom here on it. I can't really see the real time here on it, but at least you get a sense of what's happening here, that maybe this was just a little bit of too much panic there. Bitcoin was obviously down as well on it today. We haven't looked at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin's down to 78. It was down to, it got as low as down to 77,058, right? Still not, I mean, I think we probably closed a little bit lower than we did here back in March 10th. We closed at 77,389. So we were a little bit lower from that. We pulled back up a little bit, and we're actually green on the new day a little bit. We'll see where we go. I don't have a crystal ball. None of you guys have a crystal ball. If somebody does have a crystal ball, let us know, because I would love to see where we go this week. But right now, I think the miners, if this continues, will be down tomorrow. Markets may be down tomorrow, but maybe not as bad as we thought it was going to be. Maybe not a Black Monday event. I'm hoping that's the case, but we'll see. And maybe cooler heads prevail here in the long run, and we get some deals worked out with all these countries, to where, like President Trump has said, that we're obviously losing a lot of money to these countries, but it's we're buying a lot cheaper things. But there's a lot that goes into it. I'm not going to get into it here. You can definitely check all that stuff out on YouTube and on TV and everywhere else. You can read books about it, on how things might work better or should work better, right? All right. So that's it. All I got for you guys, right? I'm hoping that, like I said, things will smooth out. When that's going to happen, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll cover it all. We'll see what happens tomorrow, obviously, as well. But that's the market. I've heard this quote before. It can be longer. Oh, what's the quote? I'm drawing a blank on it right now. See, I started thinking about a quote and I forgot about it. The market can remain longer. The market can be irrational longer than you can remain solvent. Right? Just remember that. That's the quote. All right, let's get into here on the miners here as far as updates for them. We're going to get into Hut 8 and Cipher. I think we might do Cipher first. And then we'll get into some of the HPCI plays that I reviewed here at least. But yeah, let's go alphabetical order. We'll do Cipher first. Cipher's pretty short and sweet here. So Cipher Mining announces March 2025 production update. As always, they mined 210 BTC. Bitcoin sold was 206. So they are selling a large portion of what they mined. BTC held was 1,034. That increased a little bit there for them. Not much. They still are at 13.5 exahash. And they do have, obviously, the Black Pearl site. Management commentary on March. Let's see here. Cipher's demonstrated the strength of its mining operations in another month of consistent production. Since the last update, the company has continued to make substantial progress on the construction of Black Pearl, highlighted by the ahead of schedule receipt of our second transformer for the site. So that's good. In addition, Cipher maintains high conviction in the HPCI opportunity and in the significant value of our pipeline for HPC compute, which they do have quite a bit there as far as megawatts going forward. So that's good, right? They're doing all this stuff here. And this is the Black Pearl construction continues to progress ahead of schedule, right? Mostly for Bitcoin mining here. And then they obviously have some space to do some HPCI as well in there. So when we look at Cipher here, let's get into, I got how they pulled up. Let's do Cipher. So Cipher, as of Friday at least, data that we have here on the stock price. We don't know where things are going to end up today. But shares are at 361 million shares. Roughly, stock price was $2.10. Market cap 759. It's definitely come down quite a bit from where it was just 12 weeks ago. 12 weeks ago it's down 61%. So it was a lot higher from where it is right now, as well as are all the other miners. Current hash rate 13.5. Future hash rate 13.5 exahash as well. They're pretty much fully tapped into that. They do have the possibility to grow some more there, but we don't have any definitive news from them as far as buying any new machines. So based on that, they're pretty much tapped in here. Bitcoin hodl is 1,034, valued at about 80 million right now. That's only 10% of their market cap here, and each share has about 22 cents on it. Their BTC production here has been pretty, how would I put this? It's been, kind of what we would expect it to be, more or less for them being at 13.5 exahash. But it's been up and down here a little bit. It's a nice improvement here, at least in March. March had a couple more days in it to mine. That helped them out here. Otherwise, they would have been probably down a little bit because the network hash rate has increased. But they're at 178 here. Bitcoin mined revenue came up a little bit here to 15.8 million. Bitcoin hodl has been decreasing. It's up a little bit, like I said, just by 2 roughly. BTC on their side of things, they've been using that to fund their growth and everything, trying to dilute as little as possible. And then you can see their hash rate has been pretty much flat here over the last 3 months, 4 months, with slight improvements prior to that. BTC per exahash efficiency improved to 15.6, so that's good there. Going down here to institutions. Institutions did increase a little bit here to 303. Shares went up to 242 million. And then percentage owned went up to 67.65. We now have one more strong buy rating, one less buy rating though, to 3. And then one hold rating, 0 underperformance, 0 sells. Price target stayed the same at $9 for them. 773 went down for the average a little bit, and the low went down to 6, just $1 lower there. And I had them mining for approximately in February for 27.62 days based on all that information. And if we take that number, multiply it times 12, what the revenue was for March, and we get them to, I'm reducing everybody here down to like 15, 16 on it. We should be somewhere between 394 and 591, right? If things work out. But that's kind of where I see them right now. They're at 210. Yeah, they're undervalued, in my opinion. But if they get a good HPCI customer or something like that, that could definitely bode well for them going forward here. So the big thing for them is execute on the HPCI directive that they have. See if they can get a customer in there, whether it's a hyperscaler or somebody else. But a lot of these companies are working in that direction. So it's a tough field. There's a lot of megawatts still available for the hyperscalers. And we need some deals made, okay? So that's it for Cipher here. Let's get into Hut 8. So Hut 8 also provided their update for March. We talked about them last week when they provided the news on Monday of last week that they were creating a American BTC company with the Trump boys, right? The Trump sons. There we talked about that. We covered it at that point where Hut 8 is going to be basically giving all of their hash rate over to this new joint venture where they have 80% of it, and the Trump team has 20% of it there. That's going to be going forward here. Luckily, they still provided us with the update as far as what's happening, so I don't know how to do this going forward. Going forward, if they're going to continue to provide the production updates for Bitcoin here, or if it's going to be separate, we'll have to find out and wait until that happens. But at least we do have it here now. So we talked about that already last week. I'm not going to get into it here. Just want to get into the highlights here as far as what they are at right now. Let's see, Bitcoin mined here. Bitcoin mining deployed miners increased to 53.8. Deployed hash rate went up to 9.3. Looks like, and this is March. I want to make sure I got the right one. Bitcoin mining here, fleet efficiency went down to 20.1, so that's good there. Bitcoin produced was 88. So they did get quite a bit of machines installed, but it looks like they were probably towards the end of the month here based on the low amount. Well, they kind of doubled it, but they were still probably mining for a little bit less fully on. But so next month should be much better production when they report that. Bitcoin held reserve was 10,264. That's up a little bit from the 10,237 that they had the prior month. And then let's see, managed services, right, how much they have. That actually decreased a little bit here for hash rate under management to 9.3 from 9.4. ASIC colocation also decreased a little bit here to 7.6 from 7.7. And then here's their entire portfolio of sites that they have right now under either management or they own and all that stuff. So that's there. Let's take a look at their numbers really quick as well. Shares outstanding, 93 million. Stock price was at 11.39. Market cap 1 billion here. Performance the last 12 weeks, again, I'm sounding like a broken record here. Performance has not been great. They're down 57% from 12 weeks ago, 44% from 8 weeks ago, 9%, almost 10% from 4 weeks ago, and then last week they were just down a little bit here. Current hash rate 9.3. Future hash rate that I have, at least for them, is about 14 exahash. I think they're supposed to get to about 15 exahash potentially on it. So pretty close to that. Bitcoin HODL is at 10,264. That's valued at 798 million right now on it, and HODL the market cap is about 74, almost 75% on it. Each share is about $8.53 in HODL. So they're not really being valued on maybe operations side of things. Maybe they'll improve. I think there's more valuation on them for HPCI, right? They're working on a site in Louisiana that might be with Meta. We don't have confirmation on that yet. Nothing concrete on that one, at least. The good thing here, like I said, monthly Bitcoin production has improved, right? Almost doubled here from where they were in February. So the hash rate that was installed is a good improvement there. The revenues went up on it as well to 7.5 million here. Bitcoin HODL, you can see that's been kind of flat, going up a little bit here over the last couple of months after they bought Bitcoin back in December at, excuse me, at much higher prices. So I'm sure they're going to be underwater on that one right now on those. Hash rate, like I said, they installed about almost 4.6, almost 4.7 exahash here in March. That was good. That was needed. I've been hounding on them to do that for a long time. BTC sold, they only sold about 61 there. BTC per exahash efficiency is still really, really, really bad in efficiency. But hopefully with these new miners being installed, that will help them into April mining operations and uptime and everything else. Going down here, institution side of things, that did increase a little bit here to 329. Shares also went up a little bit here to 64.45 million. Percentage went up to 62.29. We still have 6 strong buy ratings, 4 buy ratings, 0 holders, underperformed, 0 sells, and a high target of 35. That actually went down from 41. Average went down to $30.2, and the low came down to 19. So we're seeing a lot of revaluation from the analysts right now on the miners in general, probably other companies as well, I think, with the markets being the way they are. But in general, with Bitcoin coming down, miners going down, we're seeing quite a few of these miners get revalued from their analysts, basically. All right. So let's see. Okay, so in March, I added these S21 miners that they have, S21 pluses that they purchased from Bitmain. And I added the 4.2 exahash, whatever it was, roughly, on those. And what else do we have? That got us to the revenue here, but they were operating maybe for like 5 days, because if you look at last month, they were operating only for like 14 days, the old ones. So I have them actually operating a little bit longer, about 20 days. But the newer ones, about 5 days, I'm guessing, based on just the amount that they mined here, maybe. Maybe I could have given them a little bit more there, I think. But it's tough to tell, especially when you have such a big change in the number of days mined from one month to the other on it. But that's kind of the estimate that I have for it there. Based on that, I'm also looking at their March numbers times 12 months, right, going forward. And I'm including also some of their managed services in here as well for it. And I think they should be somewhere between 1850 to maybe 27. Probably lower them down as well to like 15. Going down to 15. Right now they'd be still like, kind of looking overvalued here, at least right now for them. Right. So big thing for them is fix their hash rate, improve their hash rate, improve their efficiencies, get an HPCI deal there and continue to do that. But right, they're kind of going away from the Bitcoin mining side of things. They're moving that over to the American BTC side of things with the joint venture there. Then eventually that will be its wholly owned self division, basically, or a business where they can then finally go maybe get an IPO for that. So it seems like they're going to be doing away with Bitcoin mining in general, just concentrating on data centers, managed services, hosting, co-location, things like that. So we'll have to keep an eye on and see how they do. All right, that is it for Hut 8 and IREN, or sorry, Hut 8 and Cipher. Let's take a look at the weekly chart on this. We always look at this on Sundays. Miners versus Bitcoin from 52-week lows and from 52-week highs. It doesn't look pretty here. A lot of the miners have bottomed out here recently, getting to new 52-week lows. And that's why we're seeing here across probably like Marathon, Cipher, Cleanspark, Riot, Hive, Bitfarms. IREN is still above that. Hut 8, I believe, is still above that. Bitcoin is still above the 52-week lows. Core has done the best of the miners, and MicroStrategy here just this past week overtook Core again. So they're having battle there. And then this is how far the miners are away from their 52-week highs. We're a ways off. The market has not been great for us in the last, I would say, year to maybe a year and a half in the miners ever since we had the halving event, which is obviously, it's been a year. It's been April. Last time we had the halving event was April 19th. I remember talking about it. We covered it live, or trying to cover it live when it was happening. But here's the performance over the last week. The only one that was actually in the green was Cleanspark. Cleanspark was up 2%. Strategy was up 1%. Surprisingly, the markets were crashing, but Cleanspark held up pretty good. We'll see where it goes tomorrow morning. Bitcoin was down 1% on the week. I track Friday to Friday. I don't track Sunday to Sunday. I track how the miners basically trade. IREN was down 2%. Hut 8 was down 3%. Riot and Core were down 4%. Hive was down 7%. Bitfarms was down 9%, along with Marathon and Cipher. And then BitTier was down 12%. So not a great look. I mean, you can see 4 weeks doesn't look any better for these guys. Best performer out here has been probably Strategy and Bitcoin. Other than that, it's probably Cleanspark and Riot, actually. Out of those have gone the least amount. Then on the 8 weeks, we can see the same thing here. Cleanspark, maybe even Marathon here. And on the 12 weeks, Cleanspark and Strategy have done the best when it comes to losses, I guess you could say. Which doesn't bode well for us, right? We don't want these things going down. We want these things going up. But here's what we got. We have a crap ton of red here in the last couple weeks. Haven't seen that in a long time here on Bitcoin. It's been probably since 2022, I want to say, where I saw that much. Maybe even in a little bit of 2023, I think. 2024 was definitely a better year for us. But yeah, I haven't seen this many weeks where we've seen so much red here. All right. So that's it on the miners here, updates. As always, spreadsheets are available to my Patreon members. Link for that is down in the description if you want to join there. It's a couple bucks a month, and you get access to all this stuff that I have here, all these charts, data, everything else. Next, we're going to get into starting to kind of get into this conversation with HPCI miners, not miners, in general, just HPCI players, whether they have data centers, whether they have AI plays like software, or anything like that. We're going to take a look at some of these companies here. That I have a list of about 50 companies I want to go through. Not today. We're not going to go through that. But I'm pulling in the data for them. So one of the things I'm going to ask you guys is, when you guys are watching this, if there's something that I'm not including here that you would like to see on the miners to be tracked as well, we're going to go through it here relatively quickly as far as what I'm tracking already. I'm trying to track just, well, let's get into it here. So the first one we're going to do is I'm trying to pull like a big guy and like a middle guy, and then we'll do one later on this week on a smaller guy as well. So I'm trying to not just go through all the big guys. I'm trying to give you guys at least a variety of large market caps, medium market caps, and small market cap players that might have some potential here, okay? So the first one we're going to get into is Microsoft and Applied Digital. Let's take a look at those guys here. And I'll show you what I'm tracking now. This one, Microsoft, okay. So here's kind of what I'm tracking at least. Hopefully you guys can see this pretty well. But I'm trying to track if they have like data, are they a data center developer, right? Which Microsoft is in a sense because they do build their own data centers. Do they have HPCI hosting? They kind of do, right? They offer people, you can basically through Azure and things like that, you can use their services and their data centers. Data center hosting, they really don't host other people's machines there, so I didn't include that. Cloud services, yeah, they offer cloud services for HPCI. AI software developer, definitely, right there. Owns data centers, yes. Leases data centers, yes. They do both, right? So I'm trying to kind of at least narrow it down as far as what those categories would be. And if you guys have anything else that you want to include here, let me know. I'll definitely try to add that in there. And then we're just going through some of the basic stuff, right? Stock price, market cap, shares out, 52-week high, 52-week low. How far is it away from its 52-week high? How far away is it from its 52-week low? Number of employees, data centers, number of data centers, operational, upcoming, countries, markets, revenue growth, quarter over quarter, revenue growth year over year, trying to see how they are doing. Just a little chart here on the stock price. And then I'm trying to look at like employee revenue per quarter, right? How much are they generating from each employee on that? And that is based on total revenues for a year and then on a year as well. Revenue per data center operating, right? How much is each data center basically contributing to the revenues there? Profit margins, what that is, debt to equity, current ratio, price to book ratio, standard stuff, right? We're also looking at like total revenues, total cost of revenue, revenue and services and other, what those come in at. We can track those, how those are doing, service products and cloud services, office products and cloud services, Windows, right? That's kind of the things that they're into. We got the debt to equity charts going on here, current ratio, price to book ratio, profit margins, all this stuff I'm trying to track here along with the financial results over the last, I'm pulling in at least like the last 5 quarters of data for these guys here. And then trying to see if there's anything else that we want to take a look at as far as what are their plans going forward. So do they have, what's their expenditures going to be like for the next year, right? On data centers, HPC, AI, we know Microsoft is looking to spend about 80 to 90 billion so far in this year, but things may change with everything that's going on here in the markets right now, where they may step back a little bit here until there's some certainty in the markets, which I wouldn't blame them right now. To be honest, it's like, okay, where will the tariffs end up on the things that we're buying, right? We're not supposed to have any tariffs on semiconductors and things like that, but still the graphics cards, the GPUs from NVIDIA and all that stuff, where's that stuff made? What's the charge on those? Are we going to be paying a premium on those, right? 50% tariffs, who knows? So they got to get all that sorted out. So there might be a little pause there, and we've seen Microsoft actually pause here recently. I've talked about that as well in the previous shows. Just talking about data centers in general, where they are kind of curtailing their, I guess, build out in some spots. They're canceling some contracts, canceling some leases and things like that. So that is happening there, and we'll have to wait and see what happens in the next, I guess, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, whatever it might be. Do they still intend to spend all that $80 billion that they were planning on? But this is kind of what I have to work with right now. Let me know if there's something else you want to know as far as what software they're using. I mean, Microsoft, you know Microsoft. I mean, they got Copilot. They also are in the pocket of OpenAI. They use OpenAI as well. They have a bunch of software that for enterprise, things like that. They're putting a lot of the AI efforts into that. Azure, right? Big player there as well. That other customers can use that. So there's a lot of generation. I mean, Microsoft is probably one company that you probably should own, regardless of what you think of them, just because of their growth. At least in the past, we'll see if that growth still continues with all the tariffs in place. But in the past, at least, it has done really, really well over a longer period of time. This is like one of those staples that you want to just have in your portfolio, in your back pocket, right? Whether a small percentage of it, whatever it might be, but something you want to definitely hold on to. So there's Microsoft in a nutshell. And like I said, I'll fine tune this based on your guys' input as far as what you want to see in here. So if you guys can, point that out, what is it that you guys are actually looking for on it, or what am I missing on here? I would definitely greatly appreciate it if you could in the comments or in the Patreon members. You guys have access to the Discord server that we have there as well. Let me know there as far as add this in there. Get rid of this. This is not needed. Help me out a little bit just to fine tune this as best as I can for you guys for the long run, right? This is all for you guys and for myself as well to gain as much knowledge on these guys as possible. All right. Okay, let's go back here. Wrong one. I want to go here. All right. So that's Microsoft. Next was Applied Digital. This one, I knew about them going back probably a year or two back. I believe they were also mining, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe they were mining Ethereum and Bitcoin mining as well, or they were at least having hosting done for that. So that was happening back then. But the big story that came out for them was back around early this year and then late last year, I believe, as well. We'll get into that here in a second. But here's what I got for Applied Digital right now. Right, they are a data center developer, basically. They do have HPCI hosting. They also have data center hosting and cloud services that they're saying that they're providing there as well, because they have some cloud services business. All right, let's see. Market cap is about 1 billion, right? So small cap there. It's not micro cap, but it's definitely a small cap. Stock price is 492. Stock price has done, I mean, did pretty good actually through December, and then things started to go down sideways like everything else has. But they're down basically 60% from the 52-week high that they had here. But they're still up 108% from their 52-week lows. So that's a good sign there. They do have about 150 employees based on what I could find out on them. Data centers, they only have one, and that one is in Ellendale, South Dakota here. One operational, 0 upcoming, 0, one country basically, one markets basically. And then their revenue growth over quarter was 5.21%. Revenue growth year over year, 51%. So that's actually pretty good. And then employees, each employee makes about $425,000 for them roughly. Per quarter, per year, it's about 1.4 million. Revenue per data center, it's all coming from that one data center that they have there, 63 million. Profit margin is actually in the negative. They are in growth mode, so they're spending a lot of cash there and getting things set up there. But there's the rest of it. Total revenues, you can see, have been increasing here over the last 4 quarters, which is good to see. Total costs kind of were a little high in Q1. I was a little bit surprised by that, but they're up just a little bit if you compare it to Q4 for Q2. And their annual ends in like May, so it's a little bit off from our normal time frame. Revenue data centers has been increasing. Revenue cloud services has also been increasing, so that's good to see there. Operating loss, they actually had a profit here in Q1. Another loss here, but a slower or lower loss than they had in Q4 or Q3. And then lease expenses have been growing as they've been getting, I'm guessing, servers, HP, GPUs, all that stuff. I think they might be leasing some of this stuff there. And that's kind of what's happening with them. Other thing that I liked about this company, debt to equity was going down, which is good. Current ratio is also going up. Price to book ratio has been coming down. Profit margin, we talked about that one already a little bit as well. Need to improve on that, but I think they will. And the big thing that they have is the Ellendale facility in South Dakota. Going down here, they did provide some updates that I pulled in here as well. Here we go. Okay, HPC hosting business. Our HPC hosting design builds and operates next generation data centers, which are being designed to provide massive compute power and support to HPC applications within cost-effective model. During the prior year, we broke ground on our first 100 megawatt HPC facility in Ellendale, North Dakota, showing me South Dakota there on the map. The new 369,000 square foot building is expected to provide ultra low cost and highly efficient liquid cooled infrastructure for HPC applications. We continue negotiations with multiple US-based hyperscalers for 400 megawatt capacity lease, inclusive of our 100 megawatt facility under construction and 2 forthcoming buildings in Ellendale, North Dakota. We are also in advanced discussions with traditional financing counterparties to facilitate construction of activities, and they did get those already. Those came in at January. I thought I put it in here someplace. There it is. I believe this was it. PUE, Equinox. Spending, we talked, where did it put there? They got a deal. No, I forgot to put it in here, didn't I? They got a deal from, was it almost like a $5 billion deal potential with the same company that Bitfarms actually got a deal for $300 million here. Where did it go? Cloud services, data centers, management update, strategic partnership. Okay, this might be it. January 14th. Yep, here it is. Okay, I did put it in here. One of the most significant recent developments in the partnership with Macquarie Asset Management, announced on January 14th, as reported in their press release. Applied Digital agrees to build a partnership with Macquarie's Asset Management. This agreement involves a $5 billion perpetual preferred equity financing facility with initial investment of up to $900 million for the Ellendale HPC campus in North Dakota, which has a planned capacity of 400 megawatts. Macquarie's investment taking the form of 15% common equity interest in the HPC business segment ensures Applied Digital retains an 85% ownership stake, minimizing dilution for public stockholders. The partnership is expected to fund the completion of Ellendale's campus, repay existing debt of approximately $180 million, and support future data center pipeline developments with an additional $4.1 billion available over 30 months. So that is fantastic news there, right? So obviously the stock hasn't done great here recently. None of the stocks have really done great. But this is one of those ones that you definitely want to keep an eye on, maybe put a little bit into it. Because if they do get, $5 billion in investment is huge. I'm trying to think if anybody else has gotten that kind of investment here from the miner side of things, which I don't. I mean, we've seen investments of 300 million, 500 million, 50 million even for some of these guys. So this is definitely a lot more substantial. We've seen like Core, we've actually put money into Core Scientific to build up, but this is all on its own. So definitely something to do a little bit more research on. And we'll have to keep an eye on this one as well to see how it does. So this is going to be on my radar here going forward. And then maybe once I'm done paying my taxes and everything else, I'll be able to maybe buy a little bit just to diversify a little bit from the miners as well. But yeah, that is all. So like I said, if you guys would be so kind, let me know what you guys obviously would like to see more of as far as news on these guys here, evaluations, things going forward or anything like that, or just data. I do have a bunch of data here on them as well, a little bit customers. So as far as customer revenues are concerned, percentage of the revenues. The good thing, and that I'm seeing also with customers here, they don't report who the customers are, but they have like customer A through customer H basically. I went all the way back through Q2 here on them. And I forgot to put this in for Q1. I'll have to pull this in. But I do have like depreciation, stock-based compensation, lease expenses, see how that's all shaping up, and then also what the reporting as their business segments are here. And they said customer A was 70% of their revenue here from basically a year ago. And then that has dwindled down to about 51%. And we've seen a customer G come in here. That's gone up to 16% from 11%. Customer H actually go up to 28%. So it is being a little bit more diversified there, which is also a good sign. I like seeing that the revenue is increasing, but the diversification is happening there also. I could probably just take these guys out here that have zero here. I'm sure there was some stuff happening in the background there, prior years, prior quarters that they had actually some percentage of it. So we'll just maybe reduce that to just these three right now. Let me see here if I can hide it. Hide like the rows. There we go. That makes it a little bit easier to see. Okay, so customer A, customer G, customer H make up the boatload of it. Customer A is still over 51%, but it's still a lot better than what it was on it. Segment profits, I'm also tracking that as far as what those profitability are. They're reporting it, so I'm just keeping it here. And I may do something with that as well. And then segment assets, as far as how are their assets growing here, keeping track of that. We can see the data center hosting segment has been coming down in value as far as assets is concerned. Cloud services segment has been actually increasing, and so has HPC hosting segment has been increasing tremendously here, almost doubled from where it was just a prior quarter on it. So a lot of good things are happening here for them. It's just getting that site built out and getting customers in there. If they can do that, then the stock I think is going to do very well. So it's one of those, you gotta be careful with it. Maybe put a little bit in. Don't go all in on it, but something to keep in mind and keep an eye on. Okay. All right, that is it. We'll see where things end up later on tomorrow with the markets, see how things are stacking up right now. I mean, things are kind of pulling back a little bit. 2%, 2.4 on the S&P futures. Asia, okay, here's the HSI. That's down 10%, okay. Shanghai is down 7.2% right now as it is. Oh, ASX is down 4. Okay, so China's getting kicked in the butt a little bit here on the markets right now. Our pre-markets are doing a little bit better than they were. At least we're now down 5% pre-market. So that might be a good sign. We'll see where we end up at. All right. Oh, almost forgot. Q&A. I was going to just end it right now and not get into Q&A. See, too much on my mind. A lot of stuff happening here. Let's get into Q&A, see what you guys have to say. I'm going to take a sip of my drink here. Call my sorrows on it, on the markets. We'll see where we end up tomorrow. I'm not panicking right now in the markets, I'll be honest with you guys. Do I like it being down? No, absolutely not. The money that I have in the markets right now is money that I don't need right now. So if it was one of those things where I needed the money right now, then yeah, I'd be probably panicking. I'd be flipping out. I'd be going crazy if that was the case, right? If I was getting close to like retirement or something like that. Especially, I really feel for people that are getting close to retirement and they were expecting their 401ks, the profit sharing plans, whatever it might be, to be 20%, 15% higher than they are right now. To, that's a huge drop in somebody's value there. So I can definitely feel for people like that and anybody else that does need that money right away. But I'm doing all right. I'm looking at this on a longer time frame. I still got another 20 years of working. I'm not going anywhere. Market can go down. I'd love to be buying right now at these bottoms, or I don't know where the bottom's going to be, but I'd love to be buying the dips as they happen. But I have to wait a couple more weeks until I can do that. Like I said, I got to pay Uncle Sam. So Uncle Sam takes precedence over me buying stocks here, which is, I don't like that though. All right, let's get into Q&A, see what you guys have to say. I'm going to scroll up and see what you guys had to say, if anything. And always, if you could preface the question with a question mark or a Q, I'd appreciate it here. Bear with me while I go up a while. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Carl says, I understand what you're saying about the negotiations and trade down the road, but you can't put the pin back in the grenade once it goes off. I am on the side for foreseeable future. I don't blame you. It makes sense, right? A lot of uncertainty here. All right. Manya has a question. At what Cleanspark price to book value would it make sense for them to sell BTC HODL to buy back the stock? Oh, gosh, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I would think that, they could possibly, how about if it's one, right? Buy all the, I don't want them buying all of the stock back, but they could definitely buy like 50% of the stock, well, depending where Bitcoin is at. That's the other hard part. If Bitcoin goes down to 50,000, which I don't think is going to happen, their valuation on the Bitcoin HODL that they have there would be what, roughly 550 million, and the company's going to be worth $1 billion. You could spend that and buy half of the shares back, basically. Seki asks, do you think mining stocks will not raise up to pre-most high price in 2025, 2030? Pre-most high price in 2020. You're looking at 5 years out here. Depending on, I think it depends on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes into an extended cycle, the miners could do very, very well going forward, depending on where the network hash rate goes and everything else. But they could do very well. If we don't have another one of those drops where we go down 70, 80% on Bitcoin, that should bode well for the miners because they're going to be able to generate this type of revenue for a longer period of time instead of these quick flashes that we've seen here, where it's 6 to 9 months, all the revenue comes in and then all the revenue goes out. So that would be a way I think the miners could possibly go up higher, longer. All right. Let's see. Do you see BTC going to 200,000 this year or 2026? If so, where would IREN be? Well, I think 200,000 right now, based on where we are with everything, with all the unknowns, it's tough to say if we're going to get there. I thought earlier this year, yeah, we might get to 200,000. Things were looking up, right? Bitcoin's going up, and then things went down on us because of, the person in the White House. But I'd be happy to get to 150,000 this year. Can we get to 200,000 next year? Yeah, I think so if it's an extended cycle, like I kept saying it might be. And, we'll have to wait and see as far as where IREN could be at that point. It depends on how much do they dilute and when do they dilute on that 1 billion ATM. They've already used up 100 million of it, so it'll depend on that. Can they also get an HPCI customer there? A lot of unknowns as well. It's tough, but I think they should be valued much higher than they are right now as it is. They're one of the best operators here in Bitcoin mining. All right. If you were buying tomorrow, what would it be? Miners, tech stocks, value stocks, or nothing? If I was buying, I'd be buying miners. I'd be buying probably like the S&P 500. Anything and everything. Pretty much if I had the cash to do it, I'd be trying to buy something of everything. Get a little bit more diversified than what I have been here in the last 2 years. So that's kind of maybe what I would do. All right. Heinz has a question: is anyone taking antidepressants and do they work? I don't take any antidepressants. Naturally a positive person. I just have a positive outlook on things. Maybe that's a fault of my own, maybe. Angel says, rest in peace, miners. Sadie, thanks so much for the thumbs up there. Carl says, my 2 cents, as long as President Trump is saying things like expect some pain and markets may have to take some medicine, then stay in cash as much as possible. Wait for language to change. That's probably good advice there. I saw that tonight as well. He was on the plane heading probably from Mar-a-Lago to the White House, I think. And he was taking questions there, and he said, I was thinking maybe you need to take some meds, but I was going to say it. I just said it now. Thinking out loud, should have done that. Let's see. John Kurd says the Fed can't cut rates now, but they can print money, quantitative easing, to protect the bank from liquidity. I think that's right. What else we got here? Okay. U.S. banks, not banks. Okay. Donald dude. Mine says Donald Trump is an expert in bankruptcy. Well, hopefully he doesn't do that to the United States. Let's see. Neutrino says, Seb, thanks for your informative, neutral conversation in these tough times. It's deeply appreciated. Cheers. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, thank you so much for coming in here. All right. Taiwan is seeking a new trade deal with zero tariffs, so maybe things will be okay for chip imports. Maybe, right? I mean, that's my whole hope is that Trump and everybody else negotiates a favorable deal that's favorable to everybody, right? Basically, if it's zero tariffs, whatever it might be. But Trump also mentioned that, like Europe and China have been taking advantage of for too long, and he wants the money back that, they've basically stole from us for however many years going back. Like, well, you can't. I mean, okay, maybe that's where you're starting your negotiations with, and you're going to work it down to make it a little bit more palatable to everybody. But man, if you want to go back to where you think they've wronged us for the past 40, 50, 60 years, you're not going to get anything on that. So you got to come definitely down from where he is at, but I think it's just part of his negotiations, and I'm hoping that's the case. Let's see, Taiwan seeking a new trade deal. Yeah, talked about that. Saruman says McDonald's is accepting applications. For how much longer, though? And people don't have cash. Things are going to be going down. See, I feel like crap this week is going to be brutal. Buckle up. Might be, might not be. Try to stay positive, maybe. I know it's tough. It's not easy with everything going down. But right now, at least what we're seeing in the markets, things are kind of bouncing off the bottoms here, at least right now. Tomorrow might be another story. We could start tomorrow and we could go down 7, 8, 10% in an hour. So we'll have to see where that heads up to. S says March 2020 repeat melt up into December, March 2026. BTC miners will skyrocket again. I would love to see that as well. BTC headed to 300,000. Okay, definitely love to see that. All right, let's see. These companies don't plan for the long run. They barely plan a quarter to quarter as it is now. You mean like the Bitcoin miners? Well, a lot of these guys do plan for a long time. I mean, you saw where their growth was last year. They plan for that. That's you got to plan way out for that. I wouldn't say way out, but I'd say at least a couple quarters. You got to plan for that. I think the miners are done. Maybe, maybe not. Right? We're in a bear market right now. They're done. I mean, I wouldn't say we're in a bear market. I think we're in a major correction right now, thanks to Trump. But we'll see where we end up at. Okay, Manya has a question here. I understand the 50 and 75% of the revenue works well in the bull run, but is there a case where you would put in actual cost to figure price to earnings price targets? Yeah, we could definitely lower that down. I think just by lowering the PE on these guys, we can probably get closer to where they are right now. We could probably get to like maybe a 5 PE or 3 PE on some of these guys currently, right? Where they possibly might be valued fairly. I think that might give us a little bit of a window as far as that. I'll look into that. I'll see how that works out. All right. Let's see. I can see is done with miners mentally. He's switched the channel else. I haven't switched the channel completely. It's just one. The reason I did this was Terra stopped providing updates for their mining, right? Looks like Hut 8 is doing the same thing. So it's like I'm getting less and less companies that I follow, and others are kind of transitioning over into this HPCI. So I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on there, and then we'll do that as well. It's all about providing information. That's all it is, right? My opinions, my data, that's all it is. And you guys can do whatever you want with it. If you guys don't come in to watch, you don't come in to watch. I'll be sad to see you guys go, but we'll still cover the miners, like always. That's still going to be like the majority of it. And then we'll introduce things in here as well on some other topics just to kind of link together in a sense. It's all megawatts and chips and everything else. So I'm a nerd. You could say I'm a geek. I loved putting together computers, servers, things like that. When I was younger, I did those things. Still would love doing that. But I enjoy it. Hoping you guys enjoy it too. At least learn something from it. Talked about that. All right. Miners need to be valued on profit forecast. Yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to forecast that based on possible profit with Bitcoin going up, but it has been tough. But it hasn't been easy. All right. if retail investors are playing with margin, you better have a good job as a safety net. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't have to be a question, but I get you. Yeah, margins definitely can hurt a lot more than just being in the regular stock there. Let's see. Tyler says, tariffs force global quantitative easing, BTC to the moon. All right. Question, do you think the bull cycle is over and will there be a recession? Well, a recession is noted as 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, right? We haven't had that yet, so we're not in a recession yet. We might get there with the tariffs. We'll see. So we'll need at least 2 more quarters, so we'll probably know end of Q3, probably middle of Q4, we'll probably know if we were in a recession for 2 quarters. So it's going to take some time. Do I think the bull run is over? Not yet. Bitcoin is still holding at, I mean, it's at 78,000 right now, 831. So it kind of bounced back up, and we're going back up a little bit. So as long as maybe the bottom was 77,000, right around there, I could see us going down to maybe like 75 still before everything's said and done. But maybe this is the, maybe, I don't know. As long as we stay there, I think as long as we don't go below 69,000, at that point, I'm going to start thinking we're in a bear market and that's over. Unless something really changes soon after that. All right. Sebastian, what is a good entry point for IREN? You think it'll all go lower? They are still in the positive when mining coins with current Bitcoin price. Their all-in price is around like 70, right around here. So they're still like profitable here as it is. But I mean, if you just look at cash costs, they're much lower. They're like 40-some thousand. So yeah, they're fine here. It's just when you include stock-based compensation, depreciation as well into that, that's what bumps their price up. But those, I mean, you can look at it one way or another. What I think is a good price for them to get into, I mean, I was buying it when it was a little bit higher than where it is right now. I mean, IREN was at $5.94. I was buying at $7, $8, $9, $10 a share. I'm actually in the red on it right now. I would love to be buying right now. It did bounce off of on Friday. You can see it here from the bottom there at 5.15 and went back up to 5.94. I mean, it's definitely down a bit, like everything else is. I think if you can start nibbling at it around here, we might go down a little bit more. So I wouldn't put everything into it, just dollar cost average in if you can. It might be a good time, good play to get into it. You know, as long as you still believe Bitcoin's going to go up. If you think Bitcoin's not going to go up, right, I would hold off. But I still think, as right now, things may change. But right now, I still think Bitcoin's going to be okay. But it's not easy. Okay, miners and MicroStrategy should sell BTC to buy back stock. Once the market recovers and BTC goes up, the stock should increase faster and they can sell shares to buy BTC again. Would this be a good use of HODL? I see what you're saying. Right, sell now, but then you're pushing Bitcoin down further, and then we could maybe that could trigger us into bear market of Bitcoin itself, and then you're waiting until the next cycle anyways. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of dynamics that would be in play here at that point. I don't know. I have to think about that one. That's a good question there. But it makes sense for him to do that. To sell now Bitcoin, buy back later, and buy back shares now. I don't know. Tariffs is going to increase the data center build-out cost. Is coming down to who can produce their own electricity at a low cost. Which miners have the advantage of producing their own electricity in-house? None of them do. The hyperscalers are working with electricity producers. Microsoft was working with, was it Microsoft? I think Microsoft was working with a 3 Mile Island, right? They were doing a lease deal there, I believe, for that nuclear power plant. So they were going to do that. That would give them basically their own power. There are companies like Google and others that are partnering with some of these small modular reactor companies. But that's going to be a couple years out potentially for them to do that, where they'll have their own electricity. So that's going to happen there. But none of the small miners, actually, Mara has wind, right? Who else has a power plant there? I think Hut 8 has a power plant in Canada as well. But they're the natural gas, or I think they're natural gas. I don't think they're coal. I think they're natural gas. But those guys have them. That's the only ones I can really think of right now. Who has? Oh, and Bitfarms has coal refuse power plants in Pennsylvania. So those are the only ones I can think of. Okay. Yeah, wouldn't that be Bitfarms, Mara, and Hut 8 and others? Yeah, that would be those. Okay. I'm not sure how you can consider this an extended bull cycle after the last 4 months, no matter what happens in the rest of 2025. I just have a hard time considering this is a bull market. Well, I wouldn't say this is a bull market. It's still a bull market because we haven't gone down below the previous all-time highs. That's why I'm considering it still a bull market. If we're still above that, I would consider this, we're still in a correction, I guess you could say. And the reason I say that is, I've said this before many times. If you look at Bitcoin here on it last year, let's go back to last year, 1 year chart on it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So here we had the halving event, right? We got to go back a little bit further on it, I think. All right. So last year before the halving event, we reached a new all-time high, 73,000 on Bitcoin. After that, if we look at it, how long did it take us to finally start going back up? I mean, it took us basically, I would say right around here. It took us 225 days. During that time, we went down to a low of 49,000 something. Let's just say 49,000. We were down 34% from the top, from 73,000 down to there. Currently, if we look at where we are right now, we are right about here. So here's our top. I mean, this could be a double top, you could say, whatever you want to call it. Our top was kind of like right around here. We went down, right? We went back up, kind of like what we did back there. And so far, we are at 110 days. So we still could go another, I hate to say this, but we could still go another, 100 days or something like that before we start going back up. 100 days from here would be basically, what are we looking at that point? We got April, May, June, somewhere around July, and maybe towards the middle of July, somewhere around there, we start going back up into the fall, and Bitcoin price goes up. But we've only seen a correction here so far from the top of 109,000 down to here is about 30%. So we've only seen that. So it's still not that bad, 30% correction from where we have been. So we're still in that kind of correction phase where I see, right, we've had corrections to 34, 38% still, and then go on through the bull run. Because if we look back here on the previous bull run, where's the bull run? There it is. Okay, check this out. This is kind of cool to see. This was a lot quicker of corrections that we have had in the past than we've had here recently. And that's why I'm thinking this might be an extended cycle, because these corrections are taking much doggone longer than I thought they were going to take. And we saw this in the 2021 cycle. We saw this in 2017 cycle, and somewhat in the 2013 cycle. But you had these corrections that were quick. You had it basically where it's just boom. You dip down for a couple of days, about 20 days, and then you're down right 30% right here on it. And then from there, you wicked up nicely to another 100%. And then you would go down another 30-some%. Take you about, 7 days here. You'd correct to 26%, whatever it is, 25, and then you'd wick back up, right? And you had this happening, where it was relatively quick. This time around, we're going sideways much longer. There's much drawn-out correction, whatever you want to call it. It's taken several months to go through. And we're seeing that again happening here possibly. That's why I'm thinking maybe an extended cycle, but I could be wrong on it. Time will only tell when we get there, right? I'm not Nostradamus. I can't tell the future. I don't even know. I don't even think he can tell the future. But it's kind of where I'm at right now. Let's see. Question here. BTC held well initially, but was already down through third day. Margin calls are causing sell-off of safe asset and possibly BTC since it held. You're talking about over the weekend, how it sold off. That might be it. Mark says, my main worry is right now my job. 90% of companies in my industry have laid off people already. I was thinking of retirement a year ago. Now I feel like a broken. Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel for you and others that are in this situation right now, right? The tariffs, because of your 401ks, your profit sharing plans, your retirement accounts, whatever it might be, you're taking a huge hit here where that's, I mean, if you got, just think about this, people that have maybe like $1 million to $2 million saved up or something like that for their retirement that they have to live off of, and then things go down 20% or 15, 10, 20%, whatever it is, that's a lot of money that it's going to take you a while to recoup that, especially when hopefully you were more diversified in bonds and stocks and cash and gold, whatever it is. But in general, just yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty here, and it's tough. Trump's supposed to be helping the little guys out here lower their cost of living, and right now, by doing this, so much uncertainty and everything else could lead to higher inflation. We don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into it here. I could rant on about that for hours. Do spot Bitcoin ETFs issuers maintain a BTC buffer, or do they have to buy or sell every day? I believe they have to buy and sell every day. So it's done on the following day. Yeah, it's done on the following day, or they have to do it within a certain amount of time of that day. However many were purchased, how many were sold, they have to get that all cleared up. Roger asks, are you selling? I'm not selling right now. No. Market typically is starting to bottom, recover just as recession is confirmed. Yes. Okay. Sadie, thanks so much. Yeah, informative mining streams only costs in likes. Yes. That, and you guys have to watch the commercials on YouTube. That's the only thing that it costs you is a little time there. Unless you have YouTube Premium, which I highly recommend you guys get it. I don't get anything for it if you guys get it. Well, I get a little bit from YouTube Premium, not much. It's like pennies every time somebody watches it. But for a number of views. Let's see, question. Will the miners stop mining if BTC is at or below their all-in cost? If not, why not? No, they will not stop mining. They're going to continue to mine with the thought process of it going up higher eventually. But they may turn off some of the less efficient machines that they have, maybe, but they're going to continue to mine. And the reason that they do that is because they dilute anyways for the most part. Right? A lot of these companies are not profitable right now if you include all the costs, but they're still doing it, right? Because they want to either hodl Bitcoin or they want to hodl Bitcoin and then possibly sell it at a higher price or get leverage on it, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of ways that you can do it. Carl says, I like what you do because the data you provide always allows us to plan for future in these tough times, like which miners might go bankrupt versus which ones will likely survive for next cycle. You provide good data. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Hey, what are your thoughts on stablecoin dominance increasing and the rest of the market? I don't really follow stablecoins too much as far as that. I know Bitcoin dominance is increasing here. I'm not sure about the rest of it. If we look at it, we can see Bitcoin dominance. Let's see. This is Bitcoin dominance here is going up. It's at 63% right now on it. Right? I mean, Ethereum crashed hard today. It was down at one point. Ethereum was down, what was it down, like 12% or something like that? How much was that one down? Yeah, 12% on the day, 12.5% on today. So that one, I mean, yeah, the altcoins, Ethereum, they're all taking a beating. It seems like people are moving from Ethereum and altcoins and the poop coins, I call them, into Bitcoin a little bit. Maybe that's why Bitcoin kind of held up pretty good here. Last couple of days on Thursday and Friday of last week. Didn't do so well this week. I think maybe just a lot of noobs were selling Bitcoin and getting maybe liquidated a little bit. Not sure. That's, yeah. Let's see. Gary says, IREN's all-in cost of 67,000 Q4 will be down to 60,000 when it expands to 50x with improved efficiency of large chillers site. Their energy cost was down to 2.5 cents in March. No one else close. Yeah, I mean, that's great operations, right? That's kind of why I'm in them. But they're all-in costs, I think, if you're talking about electricity operations, I think it's, well, you're probably talking about depreciation there and stuff. It might be a little bit higher than that, but I would say close to that. I would agree. Question, is 300 million a fair price for building what Bitfarms is trying to build? Is it still a fair cost if Bitfarms do not secure HPC customer and have to use the entire facility for self-mining? The 300 million is depending on the megawatts, right? They have how many megawatts they put to it. But you've got to think about it in this terms. If you're building like a tier 3 data center or something like that, which they don't really have to do because they have interconnects with the PGA market there, whatever it's called, where they have the two, or at least one of the plants, they could use probably two, but the two plants that they have, coal plants, those produce electricity for them, so they could power the HPC AI business there that way. That way you don't need the backup generators, the diesel generators, to provide power in case of power outage, because they have an interconnect that they could just hook up to that. So you're saving money there, so let's just say that it costs them $7 to $8 million per megawatt. How many megawatts could they build with that? Let's just make it easy. They could build basically 30 megawatts at 10, right? $10 million per megawatt roughly. So that's kind of what you would get for it, more or less. But right now it's just trying to figure out, I think the feasibility is there that they can do it. It's just, can they get a customer to do it with them to help some of the costs there. Because, I mean, that gets really, really expensive quickly when you get into data centers and tier 3s, tier 4s, and things like that. Armin says Bill Ackman is crying because he's getting margin called. Maybe, but I'm sure he's not the, well, I'm sure not the only one. Mortem says ever since Trump became connected to Bitcoin, it all went to crap. Well, we had a good run there in the beginning, at least last year. We did go from, what did we go from, 40-some thousand to 100-some thousand. So we had a good run. Ricky says, thanks for sharing your knowledge. It's appreciated. You're very, very welcome as always. All right. So comparing BTC past is not the same. Previously, BTC was very niche and traded on its own. Now it's being affected by market margin call sentiment, etc., especially the ETF buyers. Exactly. That's why I'm saying we may have an extended cycle. Right? So that's the reason why I'm saying that. Plus, when you look at what happened to gold and gold ETFs, right? Gold had an extended cycle at that point as well. All right. SH says, actually, I was hinting at Bitfarms as an answer with 2 power plants in the U.S., Hut 8 in Canada. Yep, Mara has no interest in HPCI hosting. They do have interest in that. They've mentioned that they are open to it. That should provide Bitfarms with an advantage over other miners. Potentially, right? So that's why they got the deal for initially $50 million, but they have $300 million available to them potentially to build out the HPCI stuff there. All right. What's the all-in price to mine BTC for Bitfarms? It's right now based on the numbers that I have for Q4, extrapolating that into this current quarter that we're in. It's like 70-some thousand, almost 80,000, I think. Actually, no, 70-some thousand. I have to look back, but it's like around 70, 80,000 right now. All right. Rob says you just got to embrace the pain before the long road back to gains. No pain, no gain. All right. $290,000 down so far. What a fall. I need some dry powder for Uncle Sam. Yeah. Seb, I would like to see a line on each of these AI companies showing percentage of shares owned by employees. Okay. All right, let me write that down. Let me see if I can do that. If that information is available in their quarterly results or annual results, I'll pull that in there. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay. Employees. That should be in there. Employees, shares owned. Okay. We'll do that. That's an easy one. If it's in there, it should be though. All right. Last question here looks like from Sam here. Question. Hi, Seb. What is the low stock price you are looking, especially for Mara, Cleanspark, Riot, IREN, $4 to $6 range? I mean, we could go that low. We could go even lower depending on where the markets go. It seems like the miners are following more of the markets than Bitcoin. Right? Bitcoin was actually up in the green a little bit here on Thursday and Friday of last week, but the miners were still following the markets. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I told you guys, I got to pay Uncle Sam here in the next couple, well, was it this week or next week? Next week, I think, the 15th, right? I got to pay Uncle Sam, and then after that, I got to pay property taxes on my house. So I'm saving up cash right now, but man, I'd love to be buying right now, at least nibbling on it. But I can't. So that's the only part that's frustrating to me right now is I want to buy, but I can't. Let's see. Do you ever track whale inflows, outflows? Haven't seen you do that. I do, but I don't really talk about it. I think the whales right now are accumulating. They were selling a while back, but last week when I looked at it, they were accumulating. So maybe that's why Bitcoin stayed up the way it was. The week before, at least, I saw they were accumulating. See, Sadie, very welcome. And then let's see here. Hey, Seb, how are you doing? I'm doing good. Hopefully you're doing good. I know you sold 2/3 of Bitfarms possessions. What about the rest of the miners holding? Yeah, I'm still holding the rest of them right now. And actually, I've been buying into them as well. As you guys know, I haven't bought anything in the last probably 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. I haven't bought anything. But other than that, I've been buying. But all right. Pitt says, thanks a lot for your research and data brings us all together in this good times where the seeds of millionaires are planted. You're very welcome, and thank you so much for coming in here. All right, let's see. What would you do happens to the small microcap miners if this keeps up? Small ones, I mean, I think they should be okay currently. Bitcoin goes down too much lower, they might have a hard time. I mean, there's already some that are definitely struggling. We saw Sphere 3D. I mean, last time I checked, probably a week or so ago, I haven't seen an update from them since like November. They're in trouble there. Some of the other ones maybe as well. So it's definitely not great, but some of them might be okay. All right. Seb, will you ever get into OCTA? What is OCTA? Over-the-counter trades? Kate is here. Kate, buddy, thanks for coming in. Actually, and we're just finishing up. So, all right, we'll call it a day. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Bitcoin's still up a little bit. I mean, 0.12%. Nothing to cheer about, but also nothing to cry about, I guess. It could be. Manu says on-chain technical analysis. Like James, I don't do technical analysis that much. There's some things I can do, like RSI, things where that's looking, but going longer term and seeing the inverse head and shoulders and all that stuff, that's not me. I try to get into more on the fundamentals of the company's operations, see how they're doing, all that stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at. Okay. I appreciate you guys all for coming in, as always. I'm hoping it's going to be a better week than we had last week. All right. Tomorrow we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anybody knows. I'm just hoping that you guys are okay. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll cover whatever happens. I wish you guys a great week nonetheless. I'll see you then. Love you all.